afternoon, good night. How you doing? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Today we are going to have a serious conversation. Well, maybe not a serious conversation, but there's going to be a serious talk happening here. Now, of course, I'm only doing the talking, but just stay tuned. How you doing? Hi, it is I, MCM, and you are listening to another episode of You're Probably Right. Oh, I'm just messing with you. What's up, y'all? This is MCM, and you're listening to You're Probably Right podcast, and I got a special one for you today. Well, I guess they're all special, and I love the way that they're all generally evergreen episodes. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter when you're listening to it. It's still going to be relevant at some level, I suppose. But if you don't like what I'm doing, you're probably right. Okay. So, this whole episode is pretty much about why men and women, or we, leave each other, generally husband-wife situations. So, I was going to leave my point of view to the end, but I think, you know what, I think I'll start with my little point of view. And I'll give you my top 10 reasons as to why I think. Now, I did make this list about 2 or 3 weeks ago, so Lord knows if I've changed my mind. But remember, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a Christian podcast, but it is a Christian podcast because it is a podcast by a Christian, myself. I believe in the 66 books of the Bible. I'm not Pentecostal. I'm not Catholic. Maybe more Baptist or Reformed type of a Christian, but a Christian nonetheless. So, you know, I've created this podcast. First and foremost was just to get some thoughts out. You know, sometimes you have an idea of things and you hear other ideas, and a lot of time your ideas don't tend to jive with the, I guess, social norms and society. So sometimes you just want a place to, I guess, input these things and, you know, not really listen to see whether or not anybody sees things the way I do or you do, but you just want to get them out there. So one day, maybe my grandkids, if I ever have any, my kids ever really want to know what I really think, well, maybe they'll tune in here. And that's, of course, if it's still online, because you know how things go. I mean, if I had done this years ago on MySpace, it wouldn't be open for anybody to hear it. So here I go. Okay, so my point of view of why women leave. Okay? So, and I think did I say why he leaves? Let's see. Yeah, I got both. Okay, so my point of view. I wanted to do what the scientific side of things say for why everybody leaves. I wonder what is the better course of action. Let's see. Do you want to hear the science, or do you just want to hear my opinion? Well, it's my podcast and you're here, so I'll give you my 2 cents and then we'll see how it jives. I mean, I'm not going to actually compare, but you can compare as you're listening. So I'm going to give you my my 2 cents worth of why I think women leave and men, and then I'm going to give you why I think give you why men leave women in marriage, and then I'm going to give you why women leave in marriage. Okay. Yeah, I guess so. Let's see, just make sure. Okay. So, top 10 reasons. So I say, first and foremost, and maybe they're not necessarily in order, but I say men leave women in marriage for lack of emotional intimacy. Men value emotional connections and support in relationships, and persistent lack of emotional intimacy can lead to feelings of isolation and dissatisfaction. What the deal? See, this is why you need to be familiar with your stuff, because that wasn't my opinion. Oh, this is just the scientific reason. So they think men leave because of lack of emotion and intimacy. I'm sorry, I thought it was mine. I have all these things written down, and it's a long list, and somehow I looked at the wrong list. So since I already started with theirs, this is why they think men leave. Science, apparently. And that is by Gutman Institute, studies of marital stability and divorce predictions. Okay, number 2, communication problems. Ineffective communication, frequent arguments, or feeling misunderstood can create frustration and weaken the relationship bond. The Journal of Marriage and Family Therapy. Interesting. Third, why do men leave women? Feeling unappreciated. Men may feel taken for granted when their efforts in providing, supporting, and contributing to the family are not acknowledged, leading to resentment. Source: Studies on Marital Satisfaction and Role Appreciation. I could see where that's coming from. A lot of guys feel unappreciated. A lot of time we feel as appreciated as much as, I guess, our pocketbooks affect living situations and freedom to do whatever. Number 4, the reason why men leave. Infidelity. Extramarital affairs breach trust and can cause significant emotional pain, prompting men to end the marriage. Source: American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy. Makes sense. Number 4, I think that would be higher for most men. I know that a lot of people, I guess, when they do it in the science, I guess they assume that men and women look at things the same, and it's the same thing as if a man and woman cheats. But as many know, and I know that it's not a popular idea to many, is that the reality is a man could cheat with 20 women in one night, if that was the situation. And we're just talking about sexual, obviously, right now. And he could conceivably get all 20 or 10 pregnant same night. But one woman can only get pregnant once and have one kid. She can't spread her seed all over the place in one night. And again, the way that our bodies are made up, somebody's giving and somebody's receiving, and it's like you're receiving someone into you. It seems so much more intimate on a woman's side, and I think that's the reason why there's a lot of emotional situations. I guess a lot of emotions more into it with a woman, because any potential partner could be a father of their child, which they'll have to obviously bear in their body for no less than 9 months. So it's a different kind of commitment. So then when a man sees a woman, or has a woman, a wife, and she goes out and lays with another guy, it's almost like she's taken stock of all this. Her emotions are all up in it, and there's always a chance that she could carry a man's baby for 9 months. And that, for a lot of guys, when we look through the whole situation, it just seems so much more of a disaster, and therefore a difficult time in trying to rekindle that. Although a lot of guys, they would say, are whipped and they just go back anyways. But for a lot of guys, it's very difficult. And obviously it's difficult for women as well, but just in a different way. All right, so we're on to number 5, sexual dissatisfaction. An unsatisfying sexual relationship or lack of physical intimacy can lead to feelings of rejection and frustration. Source: research published in the Journal of Sex and Marital Therapy. And again, yes, many guys end up with different feelings about sex with their partner. There's been situations where if I get real with you, sorry, I have a cold while I'm doing this podcast, where a woman has been with other men outside of their marriage, before their marriage. And sometimes at the beginning of a relationship, people are more forthcoming with what's happened, because a lot of people want to start off on a good foot, so they try to be as honest as possible. And a lot of women will say, yes, I did this with this person and that and this person and this and the other thing, didn't like this, like that, don't like this, would I try this with you, and blah 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 blah. And then a lot of times as guys get into relationship, get into marriage, and sexual intimacy begins, if it hasn't begun already, and a lot of time you feel unfortunately, a lot of guys have felt that there's a less of what's the best way to put it? A lot of guys have been married with a woman, and the woman they marry is less likely to do a lot of different things that, say, their husband would like, but have admitted to doing a lot more with people previously to their marriage. Or I know there's guys who have a wife, and unless they're trying to procreate, forces him to, how to say this, because I don't want to be disgusting, will insist on the man wearing a condom, for instance. And a lot of guys aren't procreating, where they'll say that there's all kinds of reasons. Or how do I say this? Let's just say there's an almost impossible chance, whether or not the woman is on any birth control or whatever, that they'll be pregnant by the end of their sexual exploit because of the manner in which the man is forced to finish the situation. So, and again, a lot of time the men end up with women who are a lot less experimental in their marriage and their intimacy in marriage, and leading to guys thinking that, oh, I thought after a while, we'd break down some walls, pardon the pun. But unfortunately, there seems to be, and this is why sex before marriage isn't a good idea, because you married a woman who's been sexually intimate with a man or many men. There's a lot of baggage that comes with it, as do situations with men, or the situation where individuals are comparing their lifelong marital partner with movie characters or sadly porn, and finding that it is very difficult to measure up in different ways with those who are sex workers, and it puts a damper on things. It puts a damper on a woman if she's expected to have a six-pack and 2 kids and a perfect body, or for a guy to be in perfectly physical shape when he works how many different hours, or he's gotten a little older and his potency isn't what it was at one point. And anyhow, but for guys, yes, dissatisfaction, looking for a younger thing. Someone said that men get older, but their eyes stay the same as far as what they see as attractive. So just because, I guess, a guy sees his wife at 27 or 35 as attractive, when she has some more miles on her, not miles, I guess 8 years on her, and maybe after kids and after fat deposits in different places, and things aren't looking as tight as they were, and other different reasons, it's not as beautiful to his wife is not as beautiful to him, sadly. And that's generally because they haven't grown to love each other for the right reasons. So therefore, that love from that man is generally very superficial if he's willing to leave because of sexual dissatisfaction. But again, there's many men who get married to women who starve them out for one reason or another. Maybe the garbage wasn't taken out, so no sex. Or maybe you're gonna sleep on the couch, or tell him to go satisfy himself. I got a headache, or all those different things that women do, and for some reason they think that holding that over a man's head is the right thing to do when you are satisfied in different situations, dissatisfied in different situations, or maybe he's not pulling in the money that you thought he would, or maybe you didn't get to go on the vacations that you thought you were going to go on to, or you didn't get to purchase the property. So there, I'm going to be honest with you. In many cases, yes, a man wants to comfort a woman to rub his back after a hard day's work, cook a meal if he can't cook, or just be with him, spend time with him, not necessarily saying anything or trying to pick his brain, but just to be there. And yes, a sexual partner. And then if some of these things are pulled away, then it's almost like there's many guys would argue that, well, we don't need women for that many things. There's many of us who can cook, clean, fix things, fix our car, fix up around the house, lift it, move it, furniture, whatever. But there's one thing, we can't have kids for ourselves. We can't gratify ourselves in that way, in the proper way. And there's a lot of things that men don't really need women for that a lot of time women need men for, and that's where the disconnect comes between the two sexes a lot of the time. All right, so now that I've totally made this sound weird, I'll move on to number 6. Financial stress. Chronic financial problems or conflicting views on money management can strain the marriage and lead to conflicts. Again, there is a source, National Endowment of Financial Education survey. And again, a lot of time, if you have a man who's working full time and a wife stays at home, or who makes less money, or maybe makes the same money, but finds ways to spend money. And a lot of time guys are like checks, make sure things balance. I know there are guys who are wasteful when it comes to money as well for nonsensical things. But a lot of time guys will leave because women are not managing the money properly or wasting the money. And guys figure there's so many things that they can do properly. Like, maybe they don't need that extra property. Maybe they don't need that that cabin in the woods kind of thing. Maybe he wants to save for a future, for retirement. He doesn't want to go on a bunch of vacations. He loves you at home in Wisconsin as much as he could love you on Hawaii Beach somewhere. Or he doesn't need, Miami Beach to, get him in the mood. Or he doesn't need to go through 3 to 5 malls looking for that perfect pair of shoes to feel like he's cared for, or that he has everything he ever wanted. And there will be women, not all women, who will need certain trappings, certain financial or material trappings to feel that they've been pampered and taken care of. Now, I know some people might argue and say, no, a lot of times it's just guys wasting money and this, that, and the other. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff that guys don't need. And they could be satisfied. But financial stress, knowing that there's no stability in all his hard work, and as you're getting older, and backs and knees and ankles and everything starts to wear down, and you feel like you've been just treadmilling when it comes to financial stability, and to be with someone who doesn't care, sometimes it's difficult for a man to stick around for whatever reason. Man, sorry. The funny thing is, not even a cold, it's actually allergies. All right. 7, incompatibility or growing apart. Changes in personal interests, goals, or values can result in a sense of incompatibility over time. That is a lie. A lot of this stuff are lies, but of course, this is the science. This is the reasons why people give when they're tested or surveyed on these many different things. But you know, if you're Christians, then your compatibility should be, obviously you look at each other and hopefully you find each other somewhat attractive, or you like the person's personality. Hopefully, because you're Christians, then you're part of the family of God. You share all the Christian values. You share the views of Christ and the scriptures. So technically it should be easy in many different ways. Even if there are difficulties in personality clashes, you should be compatible, and you should both be able to be content in whatever financial, sexual, different situations you find yourself in. But of course, if you are more about the flesh and the trappings of the flesh in this world, then you'll pretty much have the same problems that any unsaved person would have when it comes to a marriage. 8. Excessive conflict and stress. So constant fighting, of course. High stress environments, or an inability to resolve conflicts can drive men to seek peace outside of marriage. In other words, guys do want peace. They do not want to be arguing with a woman regularly. Now, sometimes a guy will, for lack of a better term, curse a woman out, or, why did you put that there? Now the table got broken because you were blah, 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 weren't paying attention, something like that. And usually it's over. Whereas if it's the same situation and why did you put that there? Now it is ruined. I only had one. I was given that by my grandmother, blah, 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 whatever kind of situation. And next thing you know, every time in general, this one situation gets brought up in every conversation. So you're in arguments, constant arguments, and my ex was like this and you're like that. And, there's a whole bunch of different things that happen. And a lot of the time, arguments don't only happen one time. Arguments and things tend to be brought up by women in many different situations over and over time. And then a lot of time guys leave because they just want the easiest direction to the path of peace. And a lot of time guys find that in leaving, because they're constantly being nagged, shouted at, argued with, and obviously there's other reasons and things that happen in the relationship. 9. A loss of individuality and identity. Feeling that personal needs and aspirations are suppressed can lead men to desire independence and personal growth outside of marriage. In other words, a lot of the time, man, I've seen it, where, you'll have a guy and say he wants to do something and there's not much encouragement coming from his wife. It's like, nope, just keep a regular, steady job, or go work 2 jobs, come home and, buy that bacon and I'll fry it in the pan for you. But I don't want you, reaching for the stars and the skies of your every thought and dream. Whereas there are women who will, of course, back up a man to his dreams and say, you should try this or you could try that. I'd be 100% behind you in this, that, and the other. There's many guys who are in marriages where they've never been pushed in any direction to better themselves in a way that would be going according to some type of a goal maybe that they had as a young child or as a young person. It was more like stability, or if you're going to take a risk, it's to risk it for a lot more money. But maybe the guy's an accountant when really he wanted to be some type of a millionaire mogul and it would have taken some different risks, and maybe children would have had to wait, or you'd have had to do this or that, just different situations. So a lot of situations where the guy doesn't feel backed to follow his dreams, even if a lot of time his dreams are to have that with his family. If you don't have a strong partner behind you pushing and helping you push into a direction, a lot of time you just don't feel it. Number 10, substance abuse or mental health issues. Struggles with addiction or untreated mental health conditions can erode relationships, leading men to withdraw. So when a woman has those drug addiction issues, or alcohol addiction issues, or dependency on those types of things, a lot of time a guy will just feel like he's alone and he needs to either stretch out on his own or find somebody new. Now, of course, all these reasons here would not be backed by anything scripturally. I mean, you could say the infidelity, yeah, if she wasn't willing to stop, or she wanted to carry on in it, or there's been various people she's given herself to and it's an ongoing thing, then yeah. But everything else can be dealt with for sure. And you should be able to fight through and fight for that marriage between you, your wife, and your God. All right. Now, let's see. So we have why. I want to put my opinion. 10 reasons. All right. 10 reasons why women leave. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be able to delve into why women leave exactly because I'm not a woman. I might be able to say something, but let's just keep it simple and say it. Again, it is backed by scientific, sociological, different journals and stuff like that. They're backed up. Like this one, for instance, is sources Gottman's Institute studies on marital stability and divorce. A lack of emotional intimacy. Research indicates that women often prioritize emotional connection in a relationship. A persistent lack of that support and understanding can lead to dissatisfaction, loneliness within a marriage, and a lot of the time, if she does work outside of the house, she will find someone generally at work who will fill some of these voids, and eventually they will be having an emotional, infidelity, and it can lead into more. Number 2, poor communication. Effective communication is a leading cause of ineffective communication is a leading cause of marital breakdown. Studies have shown that frequent misunderstandings, not feeling heard, or being unable to resolve conflicts can erode the relationship. So a lot of time a guy is not emotionally available to communicate properly so that a woman feels like she's been heard. Some women, when they come home from work and you come home from work, or when they're at home all day and you come home and say 10, 11 o'clock, they still want to get their 45 minutes of talking your ear off, not necessarily needing feedback, but sometimes they need feedback, but they want to know that you hear their feelings and you have time for them at the very least. 3, infidelity, higher up on the women's chart. Extramarital affairs break trust and can cause significant emotional pain. Surveys have found that infidelity is a common catalyst for divorce among women. In other words, once a man's given himself to another woman, many women find it hard to carry on. It's like they envision their guy with someone else is unfathomable for many, so therefore they end up in a situation where they want to leave, or because the guy won't stop. A lot of time I've found that women can be more forgiving in the situations, but a lot of time guys refuse to stop for whatever reason. And that, of course, is backed up again by Association of Marriage and Family Therapy. Number 4, emotional or physical abuse. So obviously, abuse negatively impacts mental health and physical health. Women often leave because they've been beaten up. Okay, it doesn't say that, but I'm just saying that. And that's the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence says that. Substance abuse, of course. A man with drug addiction issues or alcohol addiction issues can lead to financial problems, and then there's a lot of drain in that money and financial stability. And a lot of time women will say, enough is enough and I'm out of here. 6, financial problems. Again, there's issues with wasting money, financial stress, or disagreements on how money should be spent or managed. And that leads to a lot of different conflicts. And of course, that's National Endowment of Financial Education survey. Number 7, incompatibility, over growing apart. So basically, maybe he was very immature 8 years ago, and for some reason he's still very immature, and she's grown up and she likes the grown up part of life, and he still wants to be a kid. He still wants to do kid things. Maybe he still wants to ride a motorcycle and take chances with his life, and now he has kids and she's not with it. or he needs to go with the boys every night still, or every few nights with the boys and leave her at home by herself, and they grow apart, different situations like that. Or he doesn't give that much attention to the family, and she wants him just to grow up, and sometimes it doesn't happen. And again, that can lead to other things outside the marriage for her because of his lack of acting like a man, I guess. 8, a lack of appreciation, feeling neglected, feeling undervalued can decrease marital satisfaction. And of course, this is true. It happens. But again, if everything is Christian in that home, and you go back to the scriptures for your values and for how life should be between a husband and a wife, most of these things can be conquered, even infidelity. 9, unmet expectations, unrealistic, unfulfilled expectations about marriage. She thought she was going to get the house, but she still has the apartment. Or she thought that she was going to get the condo, but she still has the apartment. Or, unfortunately, you're living with your in-laws, his parents, and that's not happy, or it is horrible. So there's different things that, maybe he promised the world, and he's barely been able to give a room. And she's held him to it. Even if he had big aspirations as they were young, things haven't worked out, and she's had it. And she wants another provider. Or she'd rather just do bad all by herself, as they say. I know someone who told someone else once, I would rather leave you with nobody than to stay with you, because I value that little. That's wild. 9. 10. Desire for greater autonomy. The woman wants to leave the marriage because she doesn't feel like she's herself. She wants to be independent. Sociological studies suggest that the pursuit of self-actualization can motivate many women to leave because they just want to be themselves. They don't want to be Mr. or Mrs. whatever. They just want to be themselves. They want to carry their dad's name, and they don't want any man to tell them what to do. We're going to give a couple more reasons. 12 here. Financial stress. Of course, he's not making the money that she thought he was going to make. And maybe he's mismanaging the money as well. So therefore, that can cause a problem in the marriage and cause it to break down. A lack of intimacy. Maybe there is sexual intimacy, but he doesn't seem to be giving himself to her how she thought he would be. It just turns into some sort of a mechanical situation where, her emotions tend to be tied to it. And if he's not with it, it can cause a lot of problems. There you go. That was 12. And I see I got through that a lot quicker. So we're going to do this quick. We're at 33 minutes. I'm going to go through my little 2 cents. This is what I thought. My point of view as to why women leave. Number 1, they always feel undervalued. Women leave because they believe they're not valued enough, no matter how much appreciation they actually receive. These are mine. This is how I was thinking that day. Number 2, they feel financially unsafe. Despite being provided for, they claim to feel financially insecure and unprotected because he doesn't have a certain amount in his bank account. His job isn't that stable. His job does not bring home enough money. Maybe he's not willing to do a second job. So therefore, she feels like anything can happen at any time because their funds are so low. 3, they can't forgive for cheating. Even if it's a one-time mistake, women are unwilling to forgive infidelity in many cases, and they choose to leave and then find someone else. 4, they think they can do better. There's a lot of women who, and men do this too, where, they'll go through university and get married, or maybe they'll get married and then go to university, or maybe they'll climb the higher echelons of whatever area of whatever career. And a lot of time when people climb that ladder in a field, sometimes they don't believe that everybody can go. And a lot of times, sadly, it's their spouse. So a lot of women will say that, you know what, it was cool when I was a teacher and you were a caretaker, but now I'm a superintendent and you're still a caretaker. You don't seem to be at my level. And that's the big thing when people say people are not at their level financially or in a socio-economical standpoint of society's way of looking at things. And a lot of time women will leave because it doesn't seem like the guy matches her and can afford her in different ways. Unrealistic expectations. Sorry. When reality doesn't match their idealistic vision, they decide that the relationship isn't even worth it. And that's sadly a lot of situations that have to do with men and women as they get older. A lot of time, a lot of things that guys are into or want to do, women are like, I'm so past it. And leaves that guy out there, and women go on to do other things. 6, dislike of partner's true self. After seeing their partner's flaws, they opt out. Instead of working through the issues with him, they nag, they complain, they hold bitterness and grudge, a lot of different things in a lot of different situations with their husbands, and they leave because they honestly don't really truly like him to begin with. They liked something of him. Maybe he had good looks, or maybe he was physically fit, or he had ambition, or he had a good job at one point or something, and one of those things that you really admired of him went away for whatever reason, and therefore it's like, I'm done with you, buddy. Which leads on to the next one: boredom and a need for constant impressing. A lot of the time, men do not keep seeking and pursuing their wives. They figure that, you know what, you're with me, we're married, this should be good enough for you, so where are you really going? So a lot of time, boredom and a need of constant impressing goes away, and if it does, a lot of time women go away. 8, success breeds independence. If they achieve personal success, they feel they no longer need their partner. So in other words, if she's making $40,000 or $50,000 a year, and she might need two people's income, but if she gets to that higher, maybe she goes to graduate school or gets a master's in Canada here, she may not have need for him because she's making enough for both partners. So she's totally financially independent. Which in many cases, women go for a guy because of financial independence, even if he's not exactly that attractive or that interesting in many cases. Maybe he's funny, but he's just not making that money. So funny's money, money's funny. A lot of times she leaves. Success breeds independence. Yes, it does. Desire for complete freedom. Again, women want total autonomy. They want to be by themselves. They want to be able to make their decisions. They want to decide what they're going to do for their evening. And they don't want a guy just hanging around. And a lot of time he doesn't even have ideas of what he wants them to do. He's just there. And a lot of time that gets annoying. And lastly, because there's somebody making a lot of noise in the background here, so I'm going to finish it off. 10, belief in better connections elsewhere. A lot of time women, many times, do not feel that they've ever really connected with their husbands. So they convince themselves that the grass is greener on the other side somewhere else. So they leave. A lot of time it isn't greener on the other side, but that's just what they've made themselves believe. So that's the situation. Anyhow, these are my 2 cents. I wonder if anyone feels the same way I do about these situations. Anyhow, this will be a short one, but not so short. 40 minutes here, and I hope you like the show. Again, it is kind of rushed, but unfortunately, I have a lot of noise in the background of the studio, and it's making it very difficult for me to concentrate. I'm hoping that you're not hearing it so much, but of course, there is a chance that you are. Anyhow, this is MCM. You are listening to You're Probably Right podcast. I hope to hear that you have something to say about the podcast, or maybe you've told your friend about it and for some reason they find it interesting and they tune in. A lot of my episodes are a lot more involved in deep thought than this one is. Of course, again, I told you I prepared this one a long time ago, so a lot of the ideas and thoughts that I had on it, sometimes they poof and vanish if you take too long to actually do the actual episode. Anyhow, thanks for tuning in, and I guess you'll hear me next time on You're Probably Right. Take care. Hey, come check out You're Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 ducks. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.